Hello, everyone. Welcome to my presentation. It's going to be awesome. BLINK-182 has always been a band that's been on my radar, heavily. I've been relating, listening, and crying to anything Tom DeLonge has whined about for the past 6 years. But that's changed now. With the band's recent comeback, I felt like it was all too fitting to listen to them to prepare for the new album that's coming out on October 20th. New Songs comes out today, or not today, but on September 21st. The new album looks like a return for the band, except they're older. So before they're too old to do this shit anymore, I bring you BLINK-182 and the cosmic power of pop punk. Oh, this is a ranking, by the way. Alright, let's get this out of the way. Neighborhoods is awful. This is a rare occurrence, but there was not a single song I liked on this album. Throughout listening, I had a panic attack about how every pop punk song is just the same, and insanity is just being a pop punk fan. No honorable mention. Nothing. I hate you, BLINK-182. 9. This album came out during the precipice of my existence. When it came out, I adored it. It was a whole new era for Blink. Pop punk goes pure pop, and my ears are bleeding. This album is not nearly as tolerable as Neighborhoods, even though it's one song longer. My bias keeps it from being not last. Honorable mentions go to The First Time, Blame It On My Youth, On Some Emo Shit, I Really Wish I Hated You, and Dark Side. Objectively, this album isn't great, but it defined an era of my life. I didn't think I'd live to admit that. But anyway, Buddha. Being Blink's first album, it's going to be a little rough on the edges and the sides, and on the body. It's rough. The album showcases what teenagers can do when inspired, and I think that's sick as hell. Most of the songs in this album were remastered for their next album, Cheshire Cat, so I don't really come back to this one. Honorable mentions: The Girl Next Door, Reebok commercial, Carousel, TV strings, pop punk. California. This album is only so high because it has more good songs than bad songs, but that's not a compliment. There are 28 songs. We need to talk about a serious thing, Blink-182. This band has been along for a very long time, and there's been a pattern in the song writing and themes behind each song. In every single song in this album, it seems like it's about our best years are behind us, carpe diem, or being a teenager was so much better back then. This album is just nostalgia bait. Along with the album being the first album to be without Tom DeLonge, this one's tough. However, I succumb to this disease called pop punk fever, and I dance along to all these songs because they're catchy, dancy songs. Honorable mention: Cynical, Bored to Death, She's Out of Her Mind, Sober, Built This Pool, Rabbit Hole, Parking Lot, Misery. Enema of the State. This is said to be the best album for this silly three-piece. It just doesn't do it for me. I found myself getting frustrated after listening to it. It's the most solid album structurally, but everything else just doesn't get me. This is definitely a bias thing, because this album is overplayed as hell for me, but I take everything into account when I rank. And I just don't like it anymore. Objectively, it is better than everything listed before, but I am still a little hesitant about it. I mean, there was a time in my life where I listened to this album every single day. That time was a year in middle school, but I digress. I love the songs, but can't stand the album. Honorable mention: Dumpweed, Going Away to College, Dysentery Gary, Adam's Song, The Party Song, Wendy Clear, Anthem. I have such just a fun fondness for this album. Cheshire Cat. Being Blink's second album, this is where I feel like they really found their groove and just their sound. The production's cleaner, and it's not sanitized, but the songs are actually good. The album's well put together, and it's my favorite album cover, and their voices sound great in this one. Tom DeLonge's whiny, Mark Hoppus, and Travis plays the drums, and Travis is awesome. Honorable mentions: Carousel, Strings, TV, Wasting Time, and M&M's, and Peggy Sue. Buddha walked, so Cheshire Cat could run. Canon. Dude Ranch. This was my favorite album ever. Out of every band that could just ever exist, ever, this was the one I chose to be as my number one. As a young teenager at that time, I felt like this was the most you could relate to music. It's a classic, and that's why it's in my top 3. This album being placed here is just another bias thing. I find I just like this one. And it's solid songs, better than solid songs. It's silly and it's absurd. It's all I could ask for from Blink-182. It's a middle school anthem. Honorable mentions: Damn It, Dick Lips, Waggy, Apple Shampoo, Emo, Josie, Enthused. BLINK-182. They're self-titled. Where are you? And I'm so sorry that this album is one of the best albums I've ever listened to. Ever. Switching off from their punk roots, BLINK-182 made an emo album, and it goes so hard, dude. This one kept me crying as well. I cry a lot. The iconography is iconic, the songs belong in a 2000s high school drama, and I couldn't be more pleased by an emo album. There are definitely better emo albums by other bands, but for BLINK-182, this is bliss. I feel it. Fun fact about this album, this is the only album with a feature, and it is fucking Robert Smith of The Cure. Honorable mentions: Feeling This, Obvious, I Miss You, Stockholm Syndrome Interlude, Stockholm Syndrome, Down, Go, Asthenia, Always. All of this featuring Robert Smith. I'm Lost Without You. Number 1, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Choosing between the last two took me like a minute, and I feel like the decision should have been harder, but it just wasn't. I know of some stories connected with this one, and I love it. I connected the most with this one the most recently. One of the stories, their label told them that their record was too sad and they needed to have a radio hit. So they wrote The Rock Show, The Rock Show, to be a radio hit. And they wrote it out of spite. And it came out to be one of their most popular songs because they just used the formula to write like a pop song, and it worked. This album is more than solid, and I really feel every song is a no skip. Even The Rock Show. It's crazy. Every song just fits, and I couldn't imagine any more or any less in this album. Honorable mentions: Anthem, Part 2, Online Songs, First Date, The Rock Show, Stay Together for the Kids, Reckless Abandon, Story of a Lonely Guy, Give Me One Good Reason, Shut Up, Please Take Me Home. Listening to every single one of these albums one after another could have driven me insane, but it didn't. Pop punk has this spell over me that's become an infectious spore that I just can't ditch. It swallows all I love and all I could ever care about. With a new album coming out in less than a month, I stay hopeful that this band will put out something incredible. One More Time, the name of the album, is supposed to signify the end of it all. After all the band has gone through with Mark Hoppus getting cancer and recovering, Tom DeLonge leaving, getting real weird about aliens for a good few years, and then coming back and putting out the worst song ever, Etching, all I can do is hope. And what have I proved from this? That I have an iron will? That I should stop putting myself through these horrible endeavors? No. I will not learn from my mistakes. I will keep listening to pop punk, and I will not change. You cannot fix me, and I will do this again.